Dear students, welcome back to this session, which is the extended one of your previous Bayesian classifier, wherein, just to recall, in your previous video session we have discussed about the Bayes theorem, what are the components of your Bayesian classifier, how exactly Bayes theorem works, the Bayes rule. We have solved three different problems. So extension to that Bayes theorem, the classifier is designed, which is called as Navy Bayes classifier. The name itself indicates a classifier designed on the foundation or making use of the principle of Bayes theorem. That's the Bayes classifier. And Navy indicates without any prior knowledge. So in your Bayes theorem we have discussed about prior knowledge, the prior probability, but Navy says the prior knowledge, the prior probability of the attribute will not be considered, only the occurrences will be considered. How to do it we'll see later. So that is why the term Navy. So the Navy Bayes classifier, I repeat, works on the principle of your Bayesian classification. So why do we go for Navy Bayes classifier when we have rule based classifiers or the decision trees, etc., etc.? It's easy to estimate each of the probability of the target function by simply counting the frequency with which each target value Vj occurs in the training data. So I repeat, so the probability for the given target function, say for example target function has two class labels yes and no. So the probability for yes as well as probability for no will be simply calculated by counting the frequency with which each target value occurs in the training data. So for a given target attribute, it will have some attribute value pairs. So matching with that, how many times is the target function yes, target function no, out of the total number of instances, that probability will be calculated, rather than applying prior probability, the likelihood, the evidence. All those constraints are eliminated. The conditional probabilities or the likelihood of a given class is eliminated, and only the simple concept of counting the frequency of appearances of the target function class labels is considered in your Navy Bayes classifier. Now, however, estimating different probabilities of all the attributes over the given target function, I have already told probability x over y, probability a over b. Similarly, probability of all the attributes to be calculated for the probability if the target function is known, then it is not feasible unless we have a very large set of training data. So if it is a simple training data set, then it will be very difficult for us to estimate the probability values. Hence, if there is a very large data set or the number of instances are very huge, then only I'll be able to apply Navy Bayes classifier. So the problem is that the number of these terms is equal to the number of possible instances than the number of possible target values. So the sentence looks complex. In a simple sense, it is nothing but it is the frequency of the count, number of attribute values, how many times it appears, and the count of the target function needs to be considered. So that is why I say equal to the number of possible instances. Number of instances, how many instances, how many records are there, and respectively multiplied by the number of possible target values. So n number of instances, 2 possible target values, n into 2, 3 possible target values, n into 3. The same thing continues. Therefore, we need to see every instance in the instance space. That means in your training data set, I call it as instance space, many times in order to obtain reliable estimates. So the Navy Bayes classifier is based on the simple assumption that the attribute values are conditionally independent given the target value. Conditionally independent in the sense your evidence, the probability of the data set, the population size is not known to that I call it as conditionally independent. So mathematically I represent for a given target value of the instance, for a given record and its respective target function or the class label, the probability of observing the conjunction in the sense all the attributes a1 and a2 and a3 and up to the nth attribute considered is just the product of the probabilities of the individual attributes. So I multiply the individual attribute probability values. So please remember this sentence: for a given target value of the instance, the probability of the observing conjunction A1 and A2 and A3 up to AN is just the product. So it is the product of all the probability of individual attributes. Whereas in case of your Bayes theorem, where we solved three different problems, we used to multiply the prior probability and class conditional probability when evidence was not known to find the posterior probability. But here I find the posterior probability for a given target value and the respective instance as a product of just multiply all the probabilities of individual attributes. You will get the posterior probability for positive target function as well as negative target function. Compare the posterior probabilities of positive as well as negative target class. Whichever is having the highest value, that will be the class label for the new instance. We will solve the problem, you will easily understand it. So the Naive Bayes classifier, so we represent the target function, NB represents the Naive Bayes. So the target function with respect to Naive Bayes classifier is nothing but the argmax. Argmax is nothing but the best probable hypothesis or the most probable hypothesis, provided the product of the target functions class labels multiplied by the summation of all the attributes with respect to target function. We will solve it mathematically, you will understand fine. So please remember the formula for your Naive Bayes classifier. The posterior probability for any given problem domain is calculated by considering the maximum or any class label having highest probability value, which is the product of all the individual probabilities with respect to given target function, and PA over Vj, finding the probability of the given attribute if the target function is known. Next, this is the Naive Bayes algorithm. The algorithm is very simple. This is your learning phase, this is your testing phase. So I repeat, this is the Naive Bayes algorithm. Your Naive Bayes algorithm is into two stages. I am just dividing it into two stages. The first one will be the learning part, wherein the classification model using the Bayes theorem, the Naive Bayes classifier will be designed, and then the new instances will be determined with respect to the class label. So how does Naive Bayes classifier work? Obviously the Naive Bayes algorithm will learn from the examples. Examples are nothing but the instances in the training dataset denoted by T. For each target value Vj, what is target value? It is the target function. A class label might be yes or no, pass or fail, positive or negative, 1 or 0. So those are the target values. Pass, fail, negative, positive, 1 or 0 are the class labels. So for each of the target value, what I am supposed to do? I am supposed to estimate the probability. I repeat, for each and every target value, I am supposed to estimate the probability. That P cap or P bar, you can denote it as, will be the prior probability for the given training data set. So we'll solve the problem. So as of now, just remember the steps. So when I get the given training data set, I am supposed to look at the target function. What are the values target function is taking? For those target function, I am supposed to calculate the prior probabilities, and I will assign it to a variable P cap. Now for each attribute value, I indicates attribute. How many attributes are there? I number of attributes are there. So for each attribute, I am supposed to calculate the probability. Again, estimate probability. Here I am estimating probability only for the target function. Here I am estimating the probability for each attribute, provided I know the probability for the target function. That is why in the first step I have found the probability for the target function. So we already discussed with respect to your Bayes theorem, PA over B or PA over V indicates finding the probability of a given attribute if already the prior knowledge of the probability of the target function V is known. So PA over V, finding the probability of A if I already know the probability of V. So and I'll assign it to the variable P cap A over Vj. How to classify the new instance? We have already discussed here. Product of the probabilities of individual attribute values. I'll retain the same formula for classifying the instance, a new instance, to find the target function. How? The posterior probability using Naive Bayes classifier is the argmax of estimated probabilities of the posterior probabilities of your target function p cap of vj we have calculated, multiplied by product of the probability of individual attributes. This is the probability of individual attributes, a over vj. How many attributes are there? 4 attributes. 4 attributes, the probability of the target function is known in the first step. Apply it, you'll get the posterior probability for positive instance as well as negative instance. Compare the probability values for positive as well as negative, whichever is having highest. Say for example, positive is having 0.5, negative is having 0.4, so obviously 0.5 is greater than 0.4, so the class label for new instance will be classified as positive. Or the vice versa, say for example, positive instance probability is 0.2, negative instance probability is 0.7, so obviously 0.7, the negative probability is greater than positive probability, so the class label for new instance will be classified as negative but not positive. This is the working principle of your Naive Bayes algorithm. So we have seen the basic definition for your Naive Bayes classifier, we have seen the Naive Bayes algorithm. Now we will try to apply the Naive Bayes algorithm for a given training data set and how to classify a new instance. So we'll take an example. So this is an example wherein I have taken a training data set to apply my Naive Bayes classifier, and the table, if you look at it, fine, it has how many? 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 columns. So the table has 6 columns. This is called as the training data set or the learning data. Both are one and the same, fine. So what are the data that I can derive from the given data set? As I said, there are 6 columns, but there are 4 columns which are of much importance to me, wherein this data set has how many instances? 14 instances. So before going into the much essential details of this data set is an example wherein it has a target function play tennis, and the number of instances are nothing but the number of days. So what is it? On day 1, whether a given sports person will be able to play tennis or no, I'll have the class label. On day 2, again a given sports person will be able to play tennis or no, so I have written it as no. On day 3, whether he will be able to play tennis or no, yes, he will be able to play. How can I decide whether he will be able to play or no? In the very beginning class, again I think I have discussed how to prepare a data set based on the presence of a feature or absence of a feature. Presence of a feature is called as affirmation. Based on the absence of a feature, if I am preparing a data set, it is called as negation. So based on that, it has been prepared. So how to prepare this data set? Based on the attributes. There are 4 attributes. Your play tennis is the target function. The number of days are nothing but the number of instances or number of examples or number of records in the data set. So it has 4 attributes. What are those? Outlook, temperature, humidity and wind. So these are the 4 attributes. Now each of the attribute is having some attribute value pairs. What are those? Outlook is taking how many values? 3 values: sunny, overcast and rain. I repeat, outlook is taking how many values? 3 values: sunny, overcast and rain. So your outlook is an example for discrete attribute. Similarly, temperature is also taking 3 values. Which are those? Hot, mild and cool. So it's a discrete attribute. Similarly, humidity, how many values is it taking? High and normal. See, it is only taking 2 values. I repeat, humidity is taking only 2 values, high and normal. Any other value? No, only high and normal. So it's a binary attribute. Again, wind is also taking only 2 values. What are those? Weak and strong. So humidity and wind are examples for binary attribute. Temperature and outlook are examples for discrete attribute. So I hope this is clear to you. Outlook is taking 3 values, it's a discrete attribute. Temperature is again taking 3 values, it's a discrete attribute. Whereas humidity and wind are taking only 2 values, high and normal, weak and strong respectively. So humidity and wind are examples for binary attributes. Now this temperature, instead of taking hot, cold and mild values, if I write the numerical values, say 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 41 degrees, 42 degrees, 43 degrees, etc. for all 14 instances, instead of using the attribute value pairs, if I write numerical values or real values, in that case your temperature becomes an example for continuous attribute. I repeat, instead of having these discrete values, if the temperature attribute is having some real numbers, then such type of attribute is called as continuous attribute. Some more examples are marks of a student 30, 40, 50, salary of a person 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, age of a person 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, 70 years. They are all examples for continuous attributes. And these are, say for example, marks of a student, I said, right, 20, 30, 40. They are examples for continuous. And if I categorize these marks of the student as 0 to 35 pass, sorry, fail, 0 to 34 fail, 35 to 50 pass, 50 to 70 first class, 70 to 80 distinction. If I make these gradings, or your CBCS gradings, they are example for categorical attributes. So please remember, if there are only marks, it is continuous, and if I group these continuous real valued numbers into some categories, then it becomes the categorical attribute. This is with respect to given data set. Fine. So now using this data set for applying Navy based classifier, I am supposed to find the class label for the new instance. What is the new instance? Say for example, first instance D1 is having if outlook is sunny and temperature is hot and humidity is high, again and wind is weak, then a given sports person will not be able to play tennis. I have mentioned a condition here. Fine. Sorry, what is that condition? Yeah, sorry, here is the condition. The conjunction of attributes and its products. The same thing I am supposed to do here. Outlook and sunny, outlook is sunny and temperature is hot and humidity is high and wind is weak, then the person will not be able to play tennis. Similarly, on day 3, if outlook is overcast and temperature is hot, humidity is high and again wind is weak, you will be able to play tennis. So I am supposed to take the conjunction of attributes, and conjunction is undefined. So in that case, for a new instance, the question is, if outlook is sunny, temperature is cool, humidity is high and wind is strong, whether you will be able to play tennis or not is I am supposed to predict, or supposed to find the class level for the given new instance. This is the testing example. If you want, you can cross verify this new instance with respect to training data set. Your new instance is absolutely different from the training data set. See, sunny is matching how many times? 5 times. Okay. Temperature is cool, sunny and cool, yes, one instance. Humidity is high, sunny, cool, high, no. Nowhere you find sunny, cool, high, no. Here also. Sunny, mild high you have, sunny, hot high you have, but never you have sunny, cool and high. So this is completely a new instance which is not matching to any of the pair or any of the instance in your training data set. So for this instance, I am supposed to find the class label. So this new instance is called as testing data. And how to apply Navy based classifier, we have seen this algorithm. So now we will apply this algorithm for this given data set after we have understood the data set. So what is the first step in the algorithm saying? For each target value Vj, what is the target value? Play tennis is having 2 values. What are those 2 target values? Yes and no. For these yes and no values, I am supposed to find the probability. How to find the probability? Probability of yes, probability of no. How many instances are there? 14 instances. So no and yes together are appearing 14 times. So the number of instances are 14. How many times are the instances positive or yes? Yes is appearing how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So please make sure you count or find the frequency correctly. If you go wrong here, your entire algorithm will go wrong. Why? In the first step itself, we are supposed to find the target function. Then you are multiplying this probability values here to find the argmax, the maximum posterior probability. So if this itself goes wrong, your entire problem will go wrong. So we'll count once again. Just check how many times is yes appearing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So out of 14 times yes is appearing 9 times. So the probability of S, P of S is equal to 9 by 14. So simple application, if S is appearing 9 times out of 14 times, then Y is appearing 5 times, obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the probability of the target function being no is 5 by 14. So total instances are 14, S is appearing 9 times, Y is appearing 4 times. So the probability of S is 9 by 14, probability of no is 5 by 14. So the very first step of estimating the probabilities of the given target function values Vj for yes and no is already known, and it will be stored in p cap of V of j. So probability of yes is 9 by 14, probability of no is 5 by 14. So now I am supposed to estimate the probability of all the attributes with respect to the given target function. How many attributes are there? Outlook, temperature, humidity and wind. So for all these attributes with respect to the given target function is yes or no, two values. So for all the four attributes, outlook, humidity, temperature and wind, four attributes, I am supposed to find the probability for four attributes provided I know the probability of the target function. That is what, right? Px over y or Pa over b or Pa over v indicates probability of a given attribute if the probability of v is already known to me. Yes, probability of v is already known to me and I can easily find the probability of A. How to find it? We will see. Now, so I am supposed to classify the new instance. Our task is to predict the values yes or no of the new instance. Concept, play tennis. I'll use this formula. So what is the new instance? Outlook is sunny. I'm supposed to find the probability for it with respect to target function yes and no. Similarly, probability of temperature is cool when target function is yes and no, both values. Similarly, humidity is high, target function is yes. Humidity is high, target function is no. Similarly, wind is strong, target function is yes. Wind is strong, target function is no. For all these 4 multiplied by 2 instances, because target function is having 2 values, I am supposed to find the probability values and multiply the products. We will see. That is what is being given. The solution I have explained in sentences. For each new datum, data is plural, datum is singular. Fine. So for each new instance, I am supposed to find the argmax, and for each target value also I estimate the probability. For each instance also, for each attribute also, I am finding the probability. That is what is given in words. So now what I am supposed to do? For this new instance, whether the person will be able to play tennis or not, I am supposed to apply the argmax function value. This function I am supposed to rewrite for the given probability values, and I rewrite it as argmax of prior probability of the hypothesis. I know, right? The hypothesis is true. Yes. Hypothesis is false. No. Probability of no is 5 by 14. Probability of yes is 9 by 14. Twice I know the values. Similarly, probability of outlook is sunny and hypothesis is positive, negative. Probability of temperature is cool, hypothesis is positive, negative. I am supposed to repeat the same process. How to find the probabilities? First I am supposed to design the learning phase, then apply it for the testing phase. Same data set I will consider, and I have prepared this learning phase data. Now don't fear for this slide. It looks like a complex one, but it is actually very simple. I'll show you certain instances, then you can probably prepare these tables on your own. So how to prepare this learning phase table to find the prior probabilities, so that I can find the probability conjunctions and find the posterior probability with respect to the given target function, yes as well as no. So how to prepare this table? How many attributes are there? 4 attributes: outlook, temperature, humidity and wind. What are the values outlook is taking from the table? Sunny, overcast, rain. Sunny, overcast, rain. Similarly, temperature, what are the values is it taking? Hot, cold and mild. So temperature is taking hot, cold and mild. Similarly, humidity is taking high and normal, wind is taking weak and strong. Similarly, humidity is taking high and normal, wind is taking weak and strong. What are the target function values? Yes and no. So in all the cases I have written yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So how do I get the value of 2 by 9? So this is very important. Please pay attention. So how do I get the value? how many times is yes appearing in the target function? It is appearing 9 times. And how to find the probability when outlook is sunny and play tennis is yes? I repeat, you are supposed to find the probability by looking at the instances in the training data set whenever outlook is sunny and play tennis is yes. Yes is appearing 9 times. So I'm now supposed to see how many times this outlook is equal to sunny and play tennis is yes. Outlook is sunny once, target function is no. This I can't consider because my condition is outlook is sunny, play tennis is yes. How many times is outlook appearing? Just check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So this is very important. Outlook is appearing how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 times. So whenever outlook is sunny, how many times is target function positive? First check that. Outlook is sunny, yes. It is not positive, so I'll not consider this. Outlook is sunny, target function is no. I'll not consider this. I'll come here to the 8th instance. Outlook is sunny, target function is no. I can't consider. Outlook is sunny, target function is yes. This is the first instance, so I'll increase the frequency as 1. Again I'll go to the 11th record. Outlook is sunny, target function is yes. So there are 2 instances. Which are those instances? D9 and D11, wherein outlook is sunny and play tennis is yes. How many instances? 2 instances. And how many times is play tennis yes? 9 times. So that is why I have written it as 2 by 9. Understood how the value of 2 by 9 I have got? Outlook is sunny and play tennis is yes. Outlook is sunny, play tennis no. I can't consider this. Outlook is sunny, play tennis is no. I can't consider this one also. Outlook is sunny, target function is no. I can't consider this. 9th record I can consider. Why? Outlook is sunny, target function is yes, 1 time. D11, outlook is sunny, target function is yes, 2nd time. So there are 2 instances when outlook is sunny. Out of how many instances? 9 instances, because play tennis is positive 9 times. It is yes 9 times. So 2 by 9. Similarly, outlook is sunny and this time target function is no. I am supposed to see. So D9 and D11 are already positive. I need not worry about it. I look at D8. Outlook is sunny, target function is no. Yes, correct. Again, first and second instance, outlook is sunny, target functions are also no. So D1, D2 and D8 are the 3 instances wherein outlook is sunny and target function is no. So that is why I have written 3 by 5. So 9 plus 5 is 14 instances. 2 plus 3 is 5 instances for sunny. This is how you can match whether you have found the correct probabilities or not. Fine. Now repeat the same thing for all the instances, and I have calculated probability for yes. Yes is appearing 9 times in the training data set. Number of instances are 14. So 9 by 14. Similarly, no is appearing how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 times. So probability is 5 by 14. This is how I prepare my learning phase data so that I can classify the new instances. Fine. Say for example, just we'll cross verify. Outlook is overcast and play tennis is no. How many instances? First let us see how many times is overcast is, target function is no. How many times? 5 times. Positive 9 times. How many times is outlook overcast, target function is no? We'll check. Overcast, target function is positive. Overcast, target function is positive twice. Overcast, target function is yes. Overcast, target function is yes, 4 times. So 4 by 9. No is 0 times, so 0 by 5. So this is how I prepare my learning phase. Next, that is what I have done for all the target functions. Instead of this table, I have written it in terms of the values. Now the decision making using your MAP rule. MAP rule we have already discussed. I'll multiply all positive probabilities. I'll multiply all negative probabilities. So what is the new instance? Outlook is sunny, temperature is cool, humidity is high, wind is strong, and target function is yes. That is what I have done. Outlook is sunny, yes, and target function is yes. Then temperature is cool, target function is yes. Temperature is high, target function is yes. Wind is strong, target function is yes. Play tennis is positive. Similarly, Outlook is sunny, target function no. Outlook is temperature is cool, target function is no. Similarly, humidity is high, target function is no. Similarly, wind is strong, target function is no. Multiplied by target function is no. I multiply the probability values. I got all these values, right? Simple. Substitute these values into this equation. I'll get the probability, the posterior probability for the new instance x dash to be s as 0.053, and for no as you'll get 0.026. Now, out of these two, which is having highest value? Obviously 0.0206, because 0.0053, two decimals after 0, one decimal after 0. Fine. So your probability for negative instance is more when compared to positive instance. So the new instance will be classified as no. That means the person will not be able to play tennis on the 15th day. New instance, if I take it as 15th day, then you will not be able to play tennis. So first thing is, you are supposed to prepare the learning phase. After preparing the learning phase, for the new instance, multiply all the positive probabilities, multiply all the negative probabilities with prior probability of the training data set when target function is yes and when target function is no. You will get some posterior values, which is the maximum A posterior probability, HMAP. HMAP for positive instance is 0.0053, for negative instance it is 0.026. Compare these two, which is greater? Obviously for negative instance. So it is greater for negative instance, so the new instance class label will be classified as no. Say for example vice versa, this was 1.2, this was 0.5, then 1.2 is greater than 0.5, then the class label for new instance will become positive. So basically what I mean to say is, with respect to your Navy based classification algorithm, I am supposed to take the argmax values for yes or no. If the probability of yes is more than no, then the class label for new instance will be yes. If the probability of no is more than yes, then the class label for new instance will be no. That is what is happening in this scenario. Probability for negative instance is greater than positive instance, so the class label for new instance will be labeled as no, and that is what I have done here. This is the working principle of your Navy base algorithm. Now, so far we have discussed the application of Navy base classifier for the given training data set if it has discrete values or binary values. What if a given training data set has an attribute which is having continuous values? That means a given attribute is continuous. We have just now discussed what is continuous attribute. Irrespective of having the discrete values, if it has numerical values or real valued numbers, say for example age of a student, marks of a student, salary of a person, they are all examples for continuous attributes. For such type of attributes, how to apply Navy based classifier is the question. So there are two ways of estimating the conditional probability of continuous attributes or real valued attributes in Navy based classifier. So the very first thing is, we can discretize each continuous attribute and then replace the continuous attribute value with its corresponding discrete interval. What is discretization? Binarization we have discussed in the data pre-processing techniques. We have discussed 6 different data pre-processing techniques, which are those: aggregation, sampling, your feature reduction, your discretization, binarization, normalization. All those are examples for data pre-processing. So for this continuous attribute, I apply a data pre-processing technique which is called as discretization. So I will not discuss those details once again. You can go back to those video lectures and see it once again. So I'll discrete those continuous attributes and then replace those attributes into interval levels. So what will this include? This approach transforms the continuous attributes into ordinal attributes. That is what happens with respect to discretization. The conditional probability Px of a given instance for the given target function is estimated by computing the fraction of training records belonging to the class Y that falls within the corresponding interval for the given attribute. Or say for example, to understand this sentence in a better way, if I take height of a person, what will happen? Height of a person will vary from 1.5 meters to 1.8 meters. How to apply Navy based classifier? So it will compute the fraction of training records belonging to the class Y, whether it will belong to 1.5, it will belong to 1.6, 1.7 or 1.8 within the corresponding interval level. So I will make 1.5 to 1.6 as one group, 1.7 to 1.8, or t-shirt size. We have seen the ordinal attributes, right? We have discussed t-shirt size might be small, medium, large, extra large. So we have discussed that also. That's what is discretization. So the second step involves with the first approach. Fine, there are two approaches. The first step is finding the conditional probability by making them into ordinal attributes. The second step in that first approach is the estimation error depends on discretization. What is the error while you are converting, as well as the number of discrete intervals, how many intervals you are considering. For example, I said for the height of a person from 1.5 to 1.8, I am considering two intervals, 1.5 to 1.6 as one interval, 1.7 to 1.8 as an interval. If the number of intervals is too large, then there are too few training records in each interval to provide a reliable estimate. I said there are only two intervals. Say for example, result of a student, if I just have two class intervals, pass or fail, then it is very difficult. So if I break it into smaller chunks, 0 to 34, 35 to 50, 51 to 60, 61 to 70, your grading system, right? So by that what will happen? The number of intervals increases and estimating the probability of the target function becomes more reliable with this approach. On the other hand, if the number of intervals is too small, then some of the intervals may aggregate records from different classes and we miss the correct decision boundary. We have discussed about the drawbacks of aggregation. Essential information will be missed. That is the first approach of handling the conditional probabilities for continuous attribute. There is a second approach wherein we will make use of some mathematical notations. We can assume a certain form of probability distribution for continuous variables and then estimate the parameters of the distribution using training data. For this, we will make use of a Gaussian distribution, which is usually chosen to represent the class conditional probability for continuous attribute. So you need not worry about the Gaussian distribution. Fine, this itself will take me at least 2-3 video lectures to explain the Gaussian distribution. We'll just make a note of the formula. The distribution is characterized by two parameters, the mean value and variance. How to calculate mean and variance we have discussed in your module 2. So for each class Yj, the class conditional probability of a given attribute is given as this. Fine, the probability of given attribute x with respect to the given target function is given as 1 divided by square root of 2 pi into the standard deviation with the exponential of the mean value subtracted from your individual attribute values divided by 2 into variance. So please make a note of this formula. This will be used to find the class conditional probabilities for continuous attribute. This is the second the second approach, and this approach is the most commonly or most frequently used approach for finding the class conditional probability for continuous attributes. So I have just made a gist of this slide with respect to the second approach, wherein this is the formula. Mu stands for mean average of the features, x for the examples where class condition is p of ci, different target functions, sigma is the standard deviation, the learning phase is f with respect to your target function multiplied by normal distribution. We will solve this problem, then you will understand. Fine. Testing phase, again just like your normal Navy based classifier, multiply all positive probabilities, multiply all negative probabilities, whichever is having highest probability value, that will become the class label for the new instance. So I have taken an example with respect to your Cleisthenes approach. It has 14 instances, right, wherein 9 instances are positive, 5 instances are negative. Instead of having the temperature as hot, cold and mild, I have taken the continuous value. How to find the class conditional probability? So first find the mean value, find the variance. How to find the mean value? The formula is 1 divided by n. How many instances are there with respect to positive? 9 instances. 1 divided by 9 into summation of all these values will give me mu value for positive target function. Similarly for negative target function, add all these. Fine. you'll get the summation of xn for all instances starting from 1 to n. There are 5 instances. Add all these divided by how many instances? 5 instances. You'll get the mean value for positive instances as 21.64, for negative instances as 23.88. How to find standard deviation? Substitute in this formula. 1 divided by n for all instances, individual attribute value minus mu value. You will get the standard deviation. So for the learning phase, how to find the class conditional probability? Substitute in this equation. You know the individual attribute value, you know the mean value, you know the standard deviation. Substitute those and you'll find some value x and y. That will be the class conditional probability for a given continuous attribute when target function is yes and when target function is no. So I repeat, find the mean value and variance for positive instances respectively, again for negative instances respectively. That is what I have done. I have not shown the calculation details here. You can do it manually. And then once you find these values, substitute into this equation. You will find the class conditional probability value for the given continuous attribute when target function is yes and when target function is no. So I have taken one more example. You can solve it wherein the one of the attribute is continuous attribute, the salary of a person. The same thing I have solved here. Fine. The new instance is homeowner is no, marital status is married, income is 120k, and I have found the mean value, I have found the variance. Square root of variance will give me standard deviation, and for the new instance income is $120. So when income is no, when income is $120 and target function is no, and when income is $120 and target function is yes, substitute these mean values and variance as well as standard deviation values into the equation. You'll get the class conditional probability value, and substitute this class conditional probability values for the new instance. Homeowner is no, marital status is married, income is $120, target function is yes, target function is no. That is what I have done. Annual income is $120, target function is no, annual income is $120, target function is yes. Substitute, you will find the substitute this value here 0.072. You will find the target function value for no is, the probability value for the target function no is 0.024 and target function for yes is 0. Why? Because there are no instances when status is married is yes. See, status is married, target function is yes. You will find no. Status is married, target function is no, married no, married no, married no. So there is no single instance out of 10 instances wherein marital status is married and target function is yes. You will not find instance. So the probability will be 0. And in that case, if you take any number of examples, n number of instances, if any instance is not matching your target function, marital status is married and target function is yes, you will find any instance here? No. Married no, married no, married no, again married no. There is not even a single instance wherein you have the marital status as married, the attribute condition is true and target function is yes. No, you are not finding any instance. In such cases it will become 0. So even if one pair is not matching, your posterior probability for positive instances or even sometimes for negative instances can become 0. This leads to a problem. So this is the working principle of your Navy based classifier. I have found yes is appearing 3 times, 1, 2, 3, no is appearing 7 times. So P of S is 3 by 10, that is 0.3, P of no is 7 by 10, that is 0.7. So normal Navy based classifier, if I apply, I can say that the target function for the new instance, this is the new instance, the class label for the new instance of the target function will be no. Why? Because the probability of no is more than yes. So the class label for new instance will be no but not yes. But there is a problem. Since the one of the attribute condition, status is married and target function is yes, is not matching your training data set, then the probabilities will become 0. This is the drawback of your Navy based classifier. So to overcome this drawback of the Navy based classifier wherein one attribute pair is not matching, this problem is called as zero conditional probability. That means any class is having a class conditional probability as 0. We call it as zero conditionality problem. So this problem of Navy based classifier can be overcome by using one of the modified approach of your Navy base classifier, which I call it as M-estimate. If you can recall, while we started evaluating your rules, the rule evaluation and the model evaluation, we discussed about Laplace transform as well as the R square, the likelihood statistic, but we just saw the formula for M estimate, but we did not discuss the application of M estimate. So in the next video session, we will be discussing about how to overcome this zero conditional probability of your Navy base classifier. This can be overcome by using the M estimate approach that we will be discussing in your next video session, along with the Bayesian network, and I'll be concluding the module 4 in your next video session. Now we'll discuss about the merits and demerits of your Navy base classifier and wind up this video session. So obviously your Navy base classifier is easy to implement. Why? Because I'm supposed to just find the basic frequency, the appearances of a given attribute with respect to target function. I'll get the probabilities and I'll multiply those positive and negative probabilities, so it is easy to implement and it will give me better results or good results in majority of the cases. The disadvantages, as we just discussed, the class conditional independence. If one attribute pair of a new instance is not matching your training record, then the probability for a given target function will be 0. So that is your zero conditional probability. That is the drawback, and therefore obviously there will be loss of accuracy. And practically, when I'm talking about class conditional independence, that will definitely not happen. Practically it is not possible, because dependencies will definitely exist. Because say for example, if I take hospital, patient's profile age will be mapped with family history, symptoms just like fever and cough will be mapped to diseases such as lung cancer, diabetes, etc. So I can't assume that there is no dependency. So these dependencies among can not be modeled by Navy base classifier, since it is assuming class conditional independence, which is practically not possible. Dependencies exist. This sort of attribute value pairs can't be matched by using your Navy base classifier. So to deal with these independence and your zero conditional probabilities, we go for applying zero conditional probability can be overcome by using M estimate, and these dependency problems can be overcome by using Bayesian belief networks. So I conclude this video lecture today with respect to your Navy base classifier, and in the next video session I will be discussing about how to overcome the disadvantage of your Navy base classifier, that is your zero conditional probability using M estimate, and overcoming your dependency problem using your Bayesian belief network in the next video session, and I'll conclude module 4 with that. Fine. Thank you.